Hello, welcome back to Hunter Tuned. Today, I'm working on my DSM, the Talon, that we showed you in one of the last videos. And I'm having an issue, and I'm seeing if any DSM experts are out there that could possibly point me in the right direction with this thing. I've been going at it for pretty much 4 or 5 hours now, just kind of trying to figure out why my alternator is not charging. So, I'd like to get this thing charging so I can at least like move it around, because I have some other projects I want to do in the garage at my house, and I can't really do them because this freaking DSM needs to get fixed. And I don't really trust driving it all the way back to my shop now because the alternator is not charging. So I'd like to get this squared away. But anyways, today, actually in the last video, you guys probably saw that I drove the car home and it made it pretty much all day on just the battery, which was crazy. That battery must be just really good. But it made it all the way to the shop and back, and about halfway back to my house from the shop, the alternator started to I noticed that the battery was going dead. Like all the lights in the dash were starting to get dim and everything like that. Some of the gauges quit working. So I, since then, have charged the battery and I replaced the alternator. So that's kind of the first step that I would have done. You don't have a battery that's charging. First place you look is alternator. So initially, with the old alternator that was on here, I would plug in the harness that goes into the alternator, not the power wire to go to the battery, but the harness that, excites the alternator to tell it to start charging. When I would plug that in on the old alternator, the belt would start to shred, like it was loading up too hard or something. So I'm like, okay, maybe that alternator is just like internally shorted. So I took the old alternator to O'Reilly's, and they tested the alternator, and when they put it in their machine, it wouldn't even like start the initial test. And I was like, okay, there must be like an open circuit or something in the alternator itself. So I just kind of assumed like, okay, alternator is bad. It's junk. It might have just got a ton of oil in it or something like that, because I still have to get a new dipstick for this. And I figure maybe the oil just leaked onto the alternator over time enough where the oil just got in the alternator and killed it. So that was my assumption. So I went and got a new alternator. This was the only one in my area within like 100 miles. And it's the 75 amp alternator. There's a 90 amp and a 70 amp or 75. So I got the only one they had, which was like the 75 amp. And the only difference with the alternator, it seemed, was this alternator has a slightly larger pulley on it, where the other one had a smaller one. And I just threw it on, I plugged everything in, and it's not charging. So I proceeded to check the fuse over here, because I know it's a really common fuse, which is the alternator choke fuse. I checked that. It has power on both sides of it, and it visually checks out good, so that one's not bad. I also read that the headlight, this 40 amp headlight fares fuse, I checked that. That one is also good, has power on both sides. I checked pretty much all the other fuses in the car. I've checked every single fuse from out here and under the hood, or under the dash there. Checked all the fuses, all of them checked out great. And I tested power coming into the plug here. So I tested this red, the green, and the black and white. So those 3 wires all have some sort of power on them. And then this far right one, the white, I believe that's a white wire. That white wire doesn't have any voltage. So I'm assuming that that's probably the ground. This red one is like a 12 volt. And then this, let me see here. This black and yellow also has like, it seems like battery power. And then the green one has almost battery power on the black box ECU that is in the car. So there's a black box ECU down there. I can't open the door because it's freaking shut and the door handle's broke. But there's a black box. That's the ECU that I've been running the car on, and it's tuned for. So I was running that one, but it came with the factory ECU, and I checked the voltage at the alternator plug, that 4-wire pin that I just showed you. I checked it with the factory computer. And this plug had 5 volts instead of, I think it was like 9.5 with the black box ECU. So the voltage definitely changed when I changed the ECU. So the voltage at that plug on that one wire did change. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. This alternator that I bought was exactly for this car. It was for a 96 Eagle Talon. I don't know if I need to get or I don't know if this car's a 95. Might be a 95. It didn't originally come with that black box ECU. It came with the gold one. So I don't know what they all did to convert to run that black box ECU, or what they had to do to convert it. I don't know. I'm not a DSM guy. I'm still learning these things just to try to figure them out. But that's the only difference that I could find was unplugging that ECU and trying the other one. Is the voltage did change at the alternator. I can't start it because it won't run. It just backfires and stuff when I try to start it with that other ECU. So it only runs with the black box, but it doesn't charge the alternator. So I got to figure something out. I don't know what to do or what to test next, or maybe I just have to get a different alternator for this to work. It is possible too that this alternator that I got from AutoZone is bad. I mean, it's not, you know, new means never even worked. So you could have, you know, a reman or a new alternator that isn't good. That's also a possibility. But it sucks when you spend 130 bucks on an alternator and the car still doesn't work. So I'm just trying to figure out what the heck else to check. Another guy said that there was also like a relay under by the mass airflow sensor that had something to do with it. I didn't see anything over here that would be a cause for concern. I have voltage from the wires. There's like 2 wires going to the alternator here, which is different. I don't know why there's 2 wires, but these 2 wires are also going under the fuse box here. There's also a couple wires. Like you can see, there's a bundle of 2 right here, and then another bundle of 2 right here, and I think 2 go to the alternator and 2 go to the fuse panel. I don't know. I'm trying to just kind of diagnose this stuff, but it's got to be something in that plug just not exciting the alternator. And I don't know what alternator maybe I should put on this thing that would work better or work with that plug. Like I said, I have power at 3 of the wires and not the 1. So if anybody has any tips, tricks, ideas, let me know. I really appreciate it, because this thing runs so much better when it has a charged battery. When the battery starts getting low, the whole car just runs like crap, and I can tell that the previous owner of this car got rid of it because of this issue. I feel like they chased it for a while. It had a brand new alternator when I got it, and then this one, and then this plug was actually unplugged when I bought it. It was just kind of chilling there. It wasn't actually plugged into the alternator. So, and I checked all the pins too. They're all good. They're making connection. They're not like, you know, wallowed out or pushed out or anything like that. So the connections inside here are fine. You know, I just don't really know where to go from here. I just want to get this thing running good, because I'd like to be able to move it around and drive it around if I want to or need to, or possibly get rid of it, because, you know, it's just been a problem child already, which I kind of expected. But yeah, I want to at least get it up and running good for a couple days before I would either sell it or rebuild the turbo, because it does need a new turbo too. But I'm not going to put a new turbo on it if the freaking alternator is not charging. So we'll go from there, see if you guys can come up with anything. I would really appreciate any insight on this issue. I'm sure there's some DSM experts out there, and if you do, drop it down in the comments, or feel free to email me at huntertuned@gmail.com. Gladly listen to everybody's feedback. And thank you very much. Have a great night and a better tomorrow. We will see you later.